Hello, my fellow comic book collectors. This is going to be a special video because I'm going to tell you about a couple things. One, I finally hit the 1K subscriber mark. I did that over the weekend, and I wanted to say thank you to all my viewers and subscribers for helping me hit that milestone. It was actually funny. Over the weekend, I hit the milestone, and then 2 people unsubscribed, and then so I was monetized, then demonetized. It was really weird. So finally, I am stably over 1,000 subscribers. And because of that, on Saturday, I plan to have my giveaway, my 1,000 subscriber giveaway. So if you want to still enter in for that, you can by leaving a comment on the video that I link below. I'll link in my description the 1,000 subscriber giveaway contest, and you can still enter in for that giveaway. You have to be a subscriber of the channel to win the prize. And the 1,000 subscriber giveaway is a small giveaway, but I'm planning a much bigger giveaway for my 2,000 subscriber giveaway. So stay tuned for that. You might be a few years out based on the growth of my channel, but you know, it's something to look forward to. So with all that said, let's get into this week's Q&A. I have some really great questions that were asked from some of my viewers and subscribers. I would like to recommend anyone that wants to have their channel promoted for free. You can basically ask me a question on this video, and I'll answer it next week, and you can get your channel shouted out. So whatever, you can take that whatever way you want. You know, it's a good way to get some free promotion for your channel. So the first question I have is from Mr. Jadora, who asked, what do you think will the comic book industry look like in 5, 10, 20 years? Now, there is a real shift happening with comics from what's happening right now is a couple of things. We have the rise of digital comics. Really, that's something that's kind of new. It's in the last few years, where now when you buy a comic, it actually includes a digital a digital copy of that comic. And that's kind of unusual. So what's happening is you're getting that shift where people now are reading those same comics online. Now, if you're like me, I still like having that physical copy. And what is happening is, I think you're going to see a lot more 9/8 in terms of the modern comics, because people won't bother reading the comic, just like I don't bother reading the physical comic, and they'll just get it graded and slabbed. And so what you'll see in the short term, that 5-year mark, I believe, is a lot more of that, where there's a lot higher grades of the modern comics. And you'd expect that anyways, because people are slabbing and protecting their comics a lot more. And you'll see a lot more people getting used to the idea of reading their comics online. Now, another thing that is kind of in this 5-year mark is the rise of the social justice kind of element to comics. And I think that's something that's pushing readers away. And I do believe that in that 5-year mark, you'll see a real shift away from kind of some of these modern comics, and maybe towards some of the independent comics that aren't like lacing their comics with too much of this stuff and focusing on real good storytelling. So there's a lot of stories that are really awesome, like Something's Killing the Children, like pretty much anything Tinian is doing is kind of that level, really good storytelling. And there's other ones that like Kanto and so forth that are all about good storytelling. And I think what's going to happen is you're going to see a shift away from some of the big publishers that have sort of lost the messaging, and to these independents that are producing really good content. So eventually the big guys will have to say, hey, look, it's either we go out of business or we start making comics that people enjoy reading again. So I think there will be a shift to that. In 10 years, we'll see that shift come, I think. And I think also that 10 to 20 year mark, we'll see a lot more digital. We will see that comics are on the wane in terms of the printed comics. And that happens with comics. Like, there is this kind of 20-year cycle anyways, where if you look at the 90s, they were being printed en masse. Like you'd get some issues where they were printed in like 5 million copies, you know. And that popularity, you know, it seemed like it was going to last forever, but it stopped. You know, if you look at the early 2000s and mid 2000s, you'd see that see that trend kind of fall, where really they didn't produce many comics during that time period. And now we get sort of a peak again because people are stuck at home reading comics. So you get sort of a rise in comics again. And that happens, you know, there's these cycles. So I see 10 to 20 years, you'll see sort of a wane. But people are generally nostalgic with comics and with anything that is tangible. Even the ones that are, I see a lot of young people that are collecting Golden Age comics. And some of my subscribers fit into that category, where they love the Golden Age stuff because it's just about good storytelling. It's about, you know, and they, you know, a lot of the Golden Age stuff pushed the boundaries and did some kind of crazy stuff. And that does appeal to younger readers. And that sort of connection to history really does appeal to younger readers. So I think what you'll see 10 to 20 years from now is anyone that's in their like late teens to now will be, or to into the 30s now, will be rich enough, you know, you have to earn some money, to be able to afford some more expensive comics. So what you'll see is anything that they love right now will be stuff that 20 years from now will become valuable. So for example, Something's Killing the Children, loved now, they'll love it and they'll be nostalgic for it 20 years from now. What others, any TV shows or movies that are popular, like the Infinity Saga, might become something that's really, really popular 20 years from now when it's well past its due, you know. So you'll see that kind of thing where they'll be collecting a lot of this stuff that was hot now. So that's one of the things that you always see with these 20-year trends. I remember when I was collecting comics in the 90s, they were talking about, like I was talking to this older comic guy, comic shop owner, and he was basically saying, well, you know, in 20 years time, you know, what is popular now will be popular, you know, 20, 30 years actually. And that's kind of what I've seen. You know, you see like He-Man and all these like, or Transformers and what's it called? G.I. Joe. Those were popular back 20, 30 years ago, and now they've sort of come back into popularity. So you can see those kind of weird trends. So that's what I predict. But in terms of the comic book industry, I do see it waning as people do move more to digital. And that's kind of sad, but it's probably realistic. But people will always want to have those originals. I do believe in that. Okay. So that was a very long-winded answer to that first question. Next question is Rocket Fighter 8. He basically asked the following question. What grails are on your want list that you can realistically afford? Well, there's a few. At the very beginning of this year, I posted a top 10 comics of the year that I wanted to get. And I've gotten 7 out of the 10. There are 3 left. Have all sort of jumped up in value, but they're all ones that I'm trying to get. And those would be All-Star Comics number 3, and Marvel Family number 1, and what was the third one? I'm just trying to remember what the third one was. Famous Funnies. So, you know, those ones have all actually gone up so much. So generally what ends up happening is when it comes to grails, I have sort of a price in my mind, how much I want to spend. Like maybe it's like 1,000 to 2,000, or maybe even 3,000 to 4,000 if it's a really big grail that's really desperate for me to, that I really desperately want. And generally what ends up happening is, as the prices go up, my expectations of what grade I'll get go down. So at first I'm like, oh, I want to get a 3.0 version of that comic. And then it becomes like a 2.0. And then now it's becoming like, oh, I'm happy if it's just a comic. It's like a 0.5, and I'm happy because, the prices have gone up that much. So those are the three big ones that I'm going for. There's also some other ones that I'm interested in. I do want some of these, like, first appearances, like Superboy, for example, or some of the more fun comics. But those have become really, really pricey. So generally what I'll do is, when I'm going after a big grail, I will kind of do a layaway plan where I'll pay installments, like a few thousand each month. And I had bad experiences with that because recently I got kind of screwed over, where I had actually gotten the first Dr. Fate, and the guy reneged on the contract because of the fact that it had gone up so much. It had tripled in value from the time that I bought it, and then they didn't want to sell it to me. So I'm still trying to get the money back from that. It's like, it's painful. So yeah, that's kind of been my way of approaching the grails. Next one is from Comics and Beyond. Awesome video. Thanks for answering my question last video. My next question is, how many years did 4-color comics run? And I should have looked this up before recording this video. So 4-color, it ran from the early 40s all the way up into the mid to late 60s. I think it was taken over by, it became Gold Key. It switched over to Gold Key. So yeah, so that gives you sort of a run of them. And there's like over 1,000 issues in the run of more fun, no fun, 4-color, Dell 4-color. So it was a pretty long running series of comics. Was only in a few years before they used, see, I'm reading somebody else's question. It's not me, it's the question. Is only, I think he meant to write, was it only a few years before they used more than 4 colors? I'm not really sure about the whole printing method, but I know that 4 colors, like, it sounds like 4 colors, oh, that'd be weird. It's mixtures of colors, right? So 4-color, Dell 4-color was one of the first to really print comics in like full color. Because 4 colors, you can get all the different shades of color. There were comics, I believe, before Dell had done it. But Dell, that was their, it was one of the earliest ones to do it. And therefore, they kind of toted that as their selling feature, more 4-color printing. So, but that's something I recommend a Google search, because I don't necessarily know 100%. I should have looked it up beforehand, but oh well. Sorry for that. Matthew W. For next week, have you bought any Walmart 3-packs? I have looked for Walmart 3-packs because I've heard all the hype about Walmart 3-packs, where I've heard people are finding like 1 in 200 variants and stuff like this. But none of the Walmarts around me sell them. And I'm not sure if Walmart in Canada sells the 3-packs. And any of my Canadian viewers, in your Walmarts, can you get the 3-packs? I haven't seen them. I've searched around on various Walmarts, and I have not seen them. So I wish I could buy, but no, I have not bought. I heard you say you want Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1. Do you only want the first print? No interest in second or third prints? Yes, I only want the first print. I'm kind of a purist in that respect. I kind of think that the second or third prints, especially with those older comics, like it's not like super old, but it's older, where those second prints or third prints came way after the original first print. To me, it's just like a copy. It's like, it's not really the real thing. I'm kind of a purist in that respect, that I kind of want that first print. Even though sometimes the later printings are even more rare. You know, you could print anything like 20, 30 years later, and you could print one copy of it, and then you could say, oh, it's the rarest of all the printings. Well, to me, it's still not as cool as that first print. So that's my opinion on printings. Phil Camacho wrote a nice Q&A from last week. This week's questions. He's got a bunch of questions, so this might be a long video. Do you utilize simple database or spreadsheet or a paid third-party app to inventory your large PC? And yes, I do actually. I actually looked into using Cover Price, and I'll probably use Cover Price in the future. But currently what I do is I have all the comics that I bought in the last few years, like last 3-4 years, all in a database, like a Excel spreadsheet, where I just basically have the place where I bought them, and then all the pricing that I paid, and the details, the descriptions from those auctions or purchases that I've made. So I try to keep all that records in my database. But I also have a database for my Warren collection, which I created. I actually coded it myself way back in the day. I did my SQL database. I created one for my Warren collection. It was like a little program done in C. It was like really primitive, but I created one just to inventory my Warren collection. And, you know, with all the pricing that I paid, who I bought it from, and all the details. So that was something I do. I'll probably switch it all over to coverprice.com, and I think they seem to have a good platform, and I'll probably do that once I get around to it. The next thing that he asked, number 2, is what audio video equipment or software are used for your videos? Well, this is almost embarrassing to say, but I record all my videos currently. I used to do it like with a proper webcam and lighting and all this stuff, and it just didn't work. I was getting audio issues. I was having a whole bunch of problems. So now I just record everything on my phone. So this is on my iPhone, the latest iPhone, and it seems to do a really good job. It picks up the audio much better. My voice isn't the greatest, actually. So any camera that can pick up my voice is probably the best camera you can get, because my voice is terrible. I can never get my voice to be really resonating or, you know, be captured well on the audio system. So I don't know. But I record everything through my iPhone, and I don't do any special lighting. I just have the regular lighting that's in my basement. So sorry for the lack of techie on that one. He asked, related to, you know, the 1K thing, 1K subscribers, your YouTube content creator, how much time is spent each week developing your next topic content, including editing and finalizing your videos? Okay, so this is again a little bit embarrassing, because I do not edit my videos. You get to see the raw me. Like, I will not edit out all my blunders, and I do have a lot of blunders. My subscribers and the people who watch my videos often tell me, hey, you're wrong. You said the wrong thing about this character. I'm like, yeah, I realized that after I recorded it. And I usually comment in my description to say, hey, I messed up. I messed up. I mess up a lot. And I put those in my description because I realized that when I recorded, I'm like, I said, oh, this is the first appearance of somebody, and it was a different character. You know, I do that a lot. I do not edit my videos. I don't have the time. For the people that know me, you know, if you talk to my clients that I work with, they know me for somebody that you can call any time of the day, like literally 3 o'clock in the morning or like any time, and I'm constantly working. I'm not a workaholic, but I just have really long work days. So I don't have the luxury of time. The time that I get to record this video is really the time that I have. So what I'll do is I literally, you know, will take the raw video and upload it. So I tried to do my best not to mess up too much, and I hope that my awkwardness on camera sometimes is charming more than it is annoying. So I don't edit my videos, and you get the raw me. So, but in a week, what I'll do, actually, here's a trick that I do, and I film I try to not record every day, but I try to post every day. And actually, so far, I've been doing that all year round. What I'll do is record a whole bunch of videos on the weekend, and I will just schedule the posts so that you get that weekly, you know, the daily video. And I'm actually in the process of, I need to record a bunch more. So I'm kind of running, I have like a whole bunch of unboxing videos that I do whenever I get some stuff. But I need the stuff that I interject in between that, those unboxing videos to really kind of make the channel not just all about unboxing, because I think that would be boring after a while. So I'm still trying to get those extra videos done, and I'll probably be doing those over the weekend. So that's all of his questions. Next is from QE, who asked, if you get the ability, equipment, and abilities of one hero or villain out there, which hero or villain would it be? My choices are Hawkman and Brainiac. Well, I always have this discussion with my son. My son, he likes Avatar, the Last Airbender, and he's always like trying to bend things. Like I want to be a waterbender, and he's always doing that. And we always sort of talk about what powers we'd want. Well, I always like Doctor Strange in terms of his powers. I like the whole magic idea, but more so, I'm more interested in the time stone and having the powers over time itself. I always like the idea of going back and forward in time, and then making, like, for example, like in the last question, somebody asked me, do I edit my videos? Well, it'd be really great to have that time stone where you just rewind a bit and fix those mistakes that you make without having to, you know, to do it all over again. So I kind of like that idea of having that time stone where you can kind of control time and go back and forth and try out all the different possibilities. I was always one who liked to explore that idea of, you know, you mess up and you get to rewrite, you go back and rewrite it and get that perfect thing. I also liked the idea of Groundhog Day, where you know, he basically becomes perfect because he can keep on going back and, you know, finding out what is the right thing to say, what the wrong thing to say, what is the right things to do. You know, I always like that whole time element. And I like the idea of perfecting myself over time and having that control where you don't age, you get to have almost infinity in terms of your length of life, because you can just keep on rewinding and, you know, and you're always learning within that time that doesn't really exist. So I like the whole Groundhog idea, and I like the Doctor Strange power of controlling time. So to me, that would be the most powerful thing, because let's say you almost get killed by some other evil superhero or villain, you could rewind and you basically say, okay, he's going to punch me here and he's going to do this. I can, you know, avoid it because I know how time's going to play out. So I think that is actually the most powerful of all the superpowers. And it actually drove me nuts in Infinity War, where he has this like this massive power, and he could have just rewound time and said, oh, sorry, Thanos, you don't win. You know, and it didn't happen, so I don't know. I always thought that that was important to have that kind of control of time, but that's my thoughts. Okay, so next one is from Comic Book Ninja. What is your top 5 comic book superhero movies / TV shows? Okay, and what are your top 5 comic book based non-superhero based movies and TV shows? Okay, so let's do top 5 movies and TV series. I'll mix the two. When I was a kid, I really liked American Hero, or Greatest American Hero, or what, I think that's what it's called, where he basically becomes a superhero and he doesn't have the instruction book to how to be that superhero. And, you know, I really liked that show. I'm trying to remember the name of the show. It's one I watched when I was a kid. America's Greatest Hero, or I think that's what it's called. I would say that's number 5. And if you asked me at the time, I would have put another show as well, Condor Man. I really like Condor Man. Nobody likes that movie, but I love that movie, Condor Man. Check it out. It's a very cheesy movie. Maybe it appeals to a very young, immature mind, which I have. So I love Condor Man. But it's kind of a weird one. But another movie that I really liked was like Superman. Superman number 2, I believe it is, with Richard Pryor. I really enjoyed the whole idea of having this super machine, a supercomputer that can, you know, was an enemy. I thought that was really great. There was like a lot of funny things in that movie that I liked. And I liked the Infinity series, those 2 movies. I put that in there in the top 5. And I mentioned this before, The Watchmen would be my number 1. So those would be kind of my top 5. I believe that's 5. So yeah, there's probably a few others that I probably should say. But those would be the big ones. Now, in terms of non-superhero related ones, it would be like The Walking Dead. I love zombies. I'm a big zombie fan. That's my big thing. So Walking Dead would be definitely in there. I liked up till season 6. I mean, I sort of found it kind of not so interesting. Especially the first 2 seasons of The Walking Dead were amazing. So that would be definitely in my top 5. I'm not ordering these because there are, like, depends on my day, how I feel about the series. Another one would be Star Wars. Any of the Star Wars first 3 Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, A New Hope, and Return of the Jedi, I really loved. I love probably Empire Strikes Back the most of those 3. And another one that is kind of, I'm not sure, well, it's not really comic related. I was going to say, this is not really comic related, is Lord of the Rings. So it's not really comic related. So that would be kind of a weird choice. I'm just going to think of a non-comic related TV series that is a comic, like non-superhero comic thing. Smurfs. Oh, okay. So I'm a big Smurf fan. So TV series when I was a kid, I loved the Smurfs. I was like the biggest fan. I would literally record every Smurf episode on my VHS. So, and I would like, I had this weird obsession with the Smurfs where I wanted to see what they would look like without their hat. And what I would do is, like, sometimes they would have this thing where the Smurfs would get excited and they would jump up and their hat would kind of pop up, and I would freeze frame it to see what their bald head would look like, or their head without the hat would look like. And it was a bald head. So, and they wouldn't show it very often. So it's kind of a cool thing. And there was one episode where Smurfette removes her hat and she reveals her blonde hair. So I was weirdly obsessed with Smurf's hair. I don't know why. but I love the Smurfs. So that would be definitely in my top favorite series, non-superhero TV series. I love the Smurfs. Okay, next question. Michael L. What are the top Golden Age comics that are collectible and affordable? This is actually an interesting one because Golden Age is kind of becoming a little bit hotter. And I've been telling people this all the time, that what happened is you get modern comics becoming crazy, like just really going up in value. And when that happens, people say, well, how much are some of these older comics? Like, it's kind of funny. Like, it was, if you look at the Vision, the modern white Vision was almost outpricing the original first appearance of the Vision. So when that happens, people go back and say, hey, maybe I should pick up the original because it's kind of cooler than the more modern version. And so what ends up happening is collectors from now kind of go back and start picking up the Golden Age. And you'll gradually see the Golden Age pop up a bit too. So there was huge price corrections in like the Silver and Bronze Age. Now we're seeing those same price corrections in the Golden Age. So the affordability has kind of become less there. But there are lots of affordable books from the Golden Age. I mentioned Dell 4-color earlier in this video. A lot of them are still very, very affordable. In mid-grade, I'm not going to say low-grade, you can actually get mid-grade ones. I've seen them in dollar bins, like where you literally can buy dollar bin comics, 4-color comics, Disney comics for like $5-10. The other thing that I've seen is a lot of the romance books from the Golden Age are very affordable. And like superhero related stuff, Captain Marvel, still pretty affordable. He's more like the $50 range on a low grade, maybe into $100 to $200 range in the mid grade, which in my opinion for a character that should be A tier, that's very affordable. Especially now he's going to have a second movie. Pretty good time to pick up Captain Marvel. And you can still pick up a couple of his major keys for about $1,000. And they're major keys. So I think there's a lot of opportunity within that series. Another thing that I found is I collect a lot of the Jungle Girl stuff. And they're fairly affordable. There are some collectors that are getting into it now where the prices have gone up. But you can still pick up a few of those. Some of the crime comics from the Golden Age are still pretty affordable. These things were, pretty mass printed. And getting low grades, pretty easy in terms of those comics. Once you start getting into the 6+, that kind of grade level, you will see a huge jump in price because they're just really scarce. There's not that many Golden Age comics that are in that 6+ grade. So once you see that, you will find that the prices do jump, but you can still get below that fairly commonly. Pre-code horror is pretty overpriced. I did recommend in a previous video for people to look at a series called Witch's Tales. There are some issues of that are affordable. Even some of the EC titles can be still semi-affordable, like in the $100 to $200 range. But for what they are, it's a pretty good price. What other great ones are there? I'm just looking around oh yes, Police Comics. Really affordable. I love Plastic Man, and Police Comics, fairly affordable, considering it's similar to Captain Marvel in terms of the pricing. You're looking at maybe $20 to $50 for a low grade, and maybe $100, $200 range for a mid, and so forth. So those ones are actually really affordable. Some of the other ones, like Archie's, like the non key issues, like when I say key, Archie's keys are kind of weird. Archie keys are more like, oh, is it a really good girl art cover? That's a key. Whereas there's some covers that are not as collected, and those you can pick up fairly affordably. So I hope that answers the question. So there's lots of Golden Age stuff out there if you're willing to look. And there's actually a lot of really great artists within the Golden Age that are that have done books that people just don't realize are done by them. Like Matt Baker is famous for that. So, you know, when people think Matt Baker, they think, oh, Phantom Lady or Seven Seas. And those books are crazy expensive. But there's other books. He did a whole bunch of romance books that some of them are pretty valuable, but there are some that are kind of below the radar that are easily picked up. And you can pick them up for like $100, which is, it sounds expensive maybe, but that's cheap for Matt Baker. So, you know, there's opportunities there. Schomburg is another one. I think no, I don't have it. It's upstairs. I bought a Schomburg one, nice mid-grade copy, beautiful, like bondage and good girl art. And it was $100. And it was a mid-grade slabbed comic. You know, and it's just one that was not in a series that people really recognize. And it's one that I think can go up because he is a collected artist. And once people realize, oh, he also did this comic, well, then there'll be a shift for people to pick up that comic as well. So there's a lot of opportunities there if you kind of do your research and try to find out what comics these famous artists did and pick up their sort of more obscure stuff. And the funny thing is, the more obscure it is, the more potential it has for value increase because people are collectors. They want those obscure things. So lots of opportunities there. Okay, so hopefully that answers that question. John Gabriel, and this is the last question, he asked, it has been said that only two truly original American art forms are jazz and comic books. Do you agree? If not, why not? Okay, I'm not a big jazz fan, to tell you the truth. But I think of jazz and I think of comic books as being truly American concepts. And even though Superman was a Canadian creator. So take that, Americans. Okay, I don't know. We always go on about Superman being a Canadian writer, Schuster. Oh, he was actually Canadian. So it's kind of silly. But yeah, those two art forms definitely American and iconically American. But actually, I think of other things as being truly American in terms of their impact on society and impact on the world. Even though they actually have earlier roots from England. So I was going to say the big ones would be television. And there was actually, television was first invented in England, but Americans really got into that whole TV culture and created that whole TV empire. And movies would be the other thing. Movies, you know, they were produced elsewhere first, but it was really Hollywood and that whole effect of the movies generated from America that really influenced the culture of the world the most. So I would say TV and movies would be the two truly American art forms that had the biggest impact. Jazz, not so much. Like when we think of jazz, we think, you know, like how many people really like jazz? Like I'm probably insulting a whole bunch of people that love jazz, but I don't like jazz. So I just don't like it. I never could get into it. So yeah, so I think of those, you know, truly original, sure, like, you know, did America truly only create movies and that you can only really associate with United States? Well, the same could be said about jazz. There's lots of jazz that came out of other places too that had a big influence on the jazz scene, and comic books the same way. There's a lot of outside influences on comics that go beyond just the United States. So I'm looking at it being the truly American thing, I would say movies and TV have the biggest influence on the world. Like, I'm not a big fan of war and, you know, like conquering other nations and stuff like that. But what has happened with American culture, because of movies and because of comic books and because of television, is the United States has really conquered the world in terms of that culture. That culture has been pushed all over the world, and people have become fascinated with it. There's actually a really funny story where they would have, like, in East Berlin. So East Berlin, you know, there was the wall that divided East and West Berlin. And what they would do in West Berlin was they would literally throw like copies of Playboy. They would drop it onto East Berlin, and they would do like really funny things like that, where they would like they would play like American music and stuff like that, and they wanted to propagandize the the East Berliners and the Eastern German side of Germany with this American culture. And they felt that that was something that really turned the tide in terms of the fall of the eastern part of Germany. That, you know, this desire to find out more, to really experience that American culture, really encouraged people to, you know, want to leave Eastern Germany and to escape to that better society with a better culture of the American kind of interesting stuff. Like, I thought that was funny, that that's one of the big influences that really encouraged people to leave the communist era. Was the desire to have that really cool American culture. So these are, you know, these are the ones I would have said. But if you're a big fan of jazz, you can you can live with that. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed all this kind of me rambling about random stuff that I'm not 100% always confident with my answers, but I try to give my best answer to everyone. And I hope you enjoyed that. If you enjoyed that, I recommend you put your question below. Maybe you can ask me a question. I will try to look some of the answers up before recording the video next time. And I recommend you subscribe to the channel, because I do post out a lot of cool stuff. And it'd be really great to have more people watching these videos. So thank you again for the 1,000 subscribers, and thanks for watching this video. Bye for now.